Today is finally time to increase the load on a couple of exercises, as I've been outlining over the past few days in the way that I want to devise my progression scheme for most movements in my program now. And the lucky chosen ones were the high pulls and the barbell curls. Moreover, a couple of exercises in this session here, I am kind of pushing to the edge of the progression for this current weight, those being the seated pin press that's coming up now, and later on also the barbell hip thrust. So what I did on the exercises where I just increased the load was to just do two main sets, working sets, and progress those towards the maximum end of the rep range that I have established. And starting off with those, this is the first set with 60 kilos on the high pulls. It is 60 kilos, I just put the 5 kilos inside the 15 kilo yellow plates simply because it was going to be easier for me stripping plates off for my supersetting exercises. I was jumping straight into seated pin presses and I just needed to remove the 15 kilo plates and I was ready to go. And after these, I was adding the smallest plates that I could find. They're 125 kilos each. So I was adding 2.5 extra kilos for the barbell curls. I thought that since they are an isolation movement, it would be wise to increase them by the minimum possible load. And it seems like I made the right choice because getting 8 clean reps with an extra less than 10% on top of what I was doing proved to be quite challenging. So I think I made a good decision there. Which now actually makes me think about how I'm going to deal with increasing weights on the hammer curls, since I'm using dumbbells and they only progress by 2 kilos each. And since I'm using 12 kilos and I will have to jump over to 214s, it's going to be a 4 kilo increase, so that's going to be fun. But then on the flip side, in that situation, I'm also staying in a higher rep range. I will be pushing those to up to 15 repetitions. So at that time, when I can do 3 sets of between 13 and 15, I'll probably have developed enough strength that jumping up 4 kilos is going to bring reps down, but not so dramatically that I can do barely 5, let's say. And this is the second and last set on barbell curls. I did 8 in the first one, 7 in the second one, was maintaining similar proximity to failure, so my aim is going to be increasing reps by 1 on each session when I'm doing these, and slowly inching my way up towards the third set and then increased weight. And that wrapped the first half of the session. Then I was moving over to the part where I was focusing more on posterior chain volume. So I was doing hip thrust for the lower posterior chain, let's call it, and then I was supersetting that, but not really, with some neutral grip pull-ups for the upper back. I'm saying not really supersetting because ideally I would be doing that, but since they're both exercises that end up doing very high in intensity and high in reps, I always give myself 1 to 2 minutes to catch a breath in between the two. And similarly to what I was doing with the earlier giant set of the pin presses and bicep curls, I was doing 3 sets of one and 2 sets on the other one. So last time I did 2 sets of 15 and 14 on the hip thrust with 110 kilos. So I decided to get an extra set in, and I took that to about 10. But I also didn't want to add an extra set on the back work because that was going to be a bit too much. And I am not yet sure to what kind of rep range I want to be pushing these neutral grip pull-ups. They are providing a good stimulus in terms of volume accumulation, but I don't know if I want to go up to 15 or maybe even 20 repetitions on a couple of sets before I put a third set in. Definitely I want to keep those unweighted, or at least for the time being, those are probably the only variation on the pull-up that really pushes intensity through high volumes and high repetitions. So I don't really feel like I would be able to do high reps with any weight anytime soon. So if I can keep these in the 12 to 15 rep range and then add an extra set in a few weeks, that should be the most sensible way to progress these. It allows me to keep some extra variability in the movement pattern, and it is a precious thing to have and not just resorting to low reps, high intensity things. Basically the same thing as I'm doing with the bodyweight push-up day. A couple of sets for very high reps. I think it keeps the program well balanced. Ciao.